Welcome. This is David Bowles, Human Meme. Today's topic: everything points to itself. Well, my human meme friend, I guess today we're going to be a little bit philosophical as we turn our gaze inward to focus on the flickering light on the cave wall that is our souls, ourselves. And, well, maybe we won't dig that deep, but we won't want for trying. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about the new importance of the self above all else, above all other considerations, and also how others don't appear to matter as much as the dominance and the preservation of the being of the self. And that's a difficult thing to sustain in a free world, because if we fail to curiously care about people other than ourselves, then we all become islands and silos and ships that pass longingly in the night and all of that. And that, my human meme friend, is what led me to realize that the world now, our unshared cultural values now, is one of self-reverence and self-relevance, and we actively choose to no longer recognize each other. We only see ourselves in our own reflexive gaze. We no longer have any interest in the ghostly images of those behind us, and of those who dare to haunt the ahead of us. I wonder why so many of us fail to recognize each other without each other. And suddenly we are our own world, our own universe, our own sun, and then we don't want to share that discovery, let alone the warmth that arrives from self-examination and affirmation. Yes, now, today, this moment, everything points to itself. Everything we do, everything we accomplish is circular. And we do love circles here in your favorite human meme podcast. We've talked about it a lot. We love circles more than any other shape, geometry, wish, deed, or final closing. But circles also are not circles unless they close, unless they have an end point. A circle must be finished to be considered a circle. And when everything points to itself, and self-references itself, we create spirals, sort of circles within circles. The intention of the circle inverts, but a straight line is not affected. An invented line creates a direct link from then and now into the future. A line, a straight line, is an understanding. A line is geographical. A line is graphable. So here are a couple more modern examples of circularity and straight lining and the clarification of the human circulation of thought. Let's discuss the Twilight Zone TV series. We've discussed that here before in your favorite human meme podcast. If you watch every Twilight Zone episode, you realize one thing, one true thing. You come to understand over time that the mission and the intention of that famous Rod Serling show is this universal truth. We are always our own enemy. And that's not circular thinking. Every Twilight Zone episode begins and ends in a straight line with that modern determinant. Post-World War II, successes suckling in a silo. Yes, in the midst of the race into space, Rod Serling warned us each week from 1959 to 1964. Rod Serling warned us that we must not only be aware of the outside threat and of each other, But we also must live in terror in the Twilight Zone. We must live in terror of ourselves. We are self-sabotaging. We are not self-reliant. We are selfish and awful and full of ego, and we are perpetually at a loss for sustainable results. The Twilight Zone TV show was an indictment of human achievement because in the end, it is always about the unconquerable, the selfish self that is unaware of itself and knows nothing about its own selfishness. And then, my human being friend, we landed on the moon 4 years later in 1969 after the original Twilight Zone TV show was canceled. And Rod Serling himself was dead 6 years after that in 1975. But this truth that Rod Serling warned us about, the truth that we are our own worst enemy, was then buried in the drug culture of the late 1960s, and the Kennedy assassination and the race to keep on visiting the moon of our dreams. And then again, suddenly, we were out of the Twilight Zone morality play, and we were suddenly, no longer the enemy of the self. We were all about the celebration of the self. Every star and every illicit drug and every shot fired wildly into the air all became data points and not fantasy storytelling to warn us against our own selfish interests. And suddenly, it was all pointing back to us. The spiraling, circular self. We became inverted. But the truth is always and ever unchanged, even by the unfocused intentions of those around us to bury the truth with conveniently changing facts. And this conversation about everything points to itself reminds me of the traditional movie trick of creating a triangle with people. It's really a circle. 2 people with 1 gun aiming the gun at each other, while a third person with 2 guns, 1 in each hand, aims each gun at the 2 other people, and they all threaten to shoot each other. You shoot me, I shoot you, I shoot both of you, you shoot me. That's a circle of confusion, with no way out of closing the circle, because there's no endpoint. The circle becomes a straight line, trying to draw an endgame, but never a triangle. No, it's all about the lack of dead-eye aim to end the game in favor of the only surviving self, the outlasting of us all. And it is all performed, all done with every action of the world pointing back to itself, confirming what we always think we only knew, but that none of us wanted to admit. We are only experts at one thing and one thing only, and always that one thing. We are experts at failing to find the point of the aim that is fired against us, because we are too blinded by our own circular beauty. We are too preoccupied to realize we are really and have always been found at the end of a straight line and not at the start of a circle, tripping and falling right into the end of our lives and the cold welcome of the warm grave, the grave where all circles live to die, closed and completed, with a fading flickering on the cave wall of what we were intended to be, and not what we have become. Thank you for listening. Be a human meme.